Any religious figure that would suggest that would be considered to be an Antichrist. So that would definitely happen before the Great Tribulation.
Ask the Pastor.
And Pastor Gray, she wants to know, do the Antichrist and the Great Tribulation come after the rapture?
Well, that's a question that is interesting. It is always difficult to nail down dates and times and the order of things that are going to happen in the future. But there are some things that we can see. First of all, when you're talking about the Antichrist, there's a lot of things you could be talking about. In the 1 John, the first epistle of John, in the second chapter, the 22nd verse, it says, "Who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? He is the Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. Whosoever denieth the Son, and the same hath not the Father, but he that acknowledgeth the Son hath the Father also." So there are going to be lots of Antichrists. There is one in particular that we will be concerned about, but there are anyone who denies that Jesus Christ is Lord. Any religious figure that would suggest that would be considered to be an Antichrist. So that would definitely happen before the Great Tribulation. But as far as before the rapture and the Great Tribulation, I think the Great Tribulation would happen after the rapture. If you would look at 2 Thessalonians, starting around the 3rd verse, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth thee and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you of these things. And now ye know that withholdeth he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." So I think the Great Tribulation will begin before the Great, how about saying it this way? The Great Tribulation will come after the rapture.
Thank you, Pastor Gray. We sure appreciate that. Dr. Kathleen, the Antichrist, the rapture, before, after, what's your thoughts on that?
Thank you. And Pearl, that's a wonderful, wonderful question. I want to go back to the book of Genesis, and I just wanted to look real quick on Genesis chapter 19 and verse 29. "And it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out in the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt." And also wanted to go to, I know Pastor Gray just read the wonderful one in Thessalonians, and there's another one in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 14. "For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep." And that talks about the Lord descending. But I want to read the last verse here, verse 18. "Wherefore comfort one another with these words," because he's talking about those that are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. And so I just see that we are not appointed unto wrath, Pearl, and I just want to encourage you that as the Lord shows a pattern when he did with Lot and took him out, it's the same pattern. We're in Christ, and he lives in us and through us. So I believe that he will deliver his own before the Great Tribulation.
Thank you, Dr. Kathleen. And, Pastor Rich, this is widely debated, pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib. Where does the Antichrist and the tribulation fit around the rapture? What's your take on that?
Well, let's take a look at the book of Revelation and what that has to say. Now, this takes a little bit of creative looking at the book of Revelation, but if you look at Revelation as a history of the church from the death of Christ to our joining him in heaven, I always take a look at chapters 2 and 3 as the history of the church. The 7 letters to the 7 churches do in many ways represent the historical eras of the church over time, from the time of the apostles, the time of persecution, that would be the letter to the church in Smyrna, the time of compromise where Constantine married the church to the government, and on through history, through the time of the reformers and whatnot. If you go all through those 7 letters as the historical eras of the church, that brings us up to chapter 4, where we see these words in verse 1, "Come up here." I think that is a representation of the rapture of the church. So everything in Revelation from there afterwards would be post-rapture. So if you take a look at it that way, then we see that the history of the church takes place. There's the rapture, and then the Great Tribulation, the Antichrist, and all of that. Now, that's not widely accepted in Christendom. That is kind of a Rich Hall version of the theology of the church. I've heard this from other teachers. Chuck Missler is a great teacher who kind of cued me onto this, but it does give us a picture of where the historical events in Revelation take place in history.
Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. To see more like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and get all the latest content from TCT Ministries. We'd love to pray alongside you for God's blessings in your life, so you can email your prayer requests to prayer@tct.tv or click the link below and submit your request at tct.tv. God bless you and thank you for watching.